Hello, ladies and gentlemen. In today's episode, we'll be talking about moisture return. When we choose an absorbent product for ourselves or a loved one, what we want most is for the product to give the best possible feeling of dryness. This is very important for the comfort of use, but also for the safety of our skin, as skin does not like constant contact with liquid. But how do we know that the product we have chosen really does provide adequate dryness? Can we check this in some way? In order to answer this question, I've invited the expert from Seni, Piotr Chrominski. Hello, Piotr.
Hi, Alina. Good morning to you. Another episode in the series simply about Seni. Another test of how to simply check a key parameter for the patient, which is the feeling of dryness.
Simply about Seni. It's a simple experiment, but I can see you prepared a laboratory and various strange objects here again.
Yes, the lab is just to show you what substitutes from such a mini lab you can find in your own kitchen.
So I understand that we're going to need all of that here for the study.
Yes. Now, when it comes to the return of moisture, we must examine how much moisture is returned under the weight. We therefore take an ordinary liter jar filled with water in place of the weight, which I have already put away in the laboratory, and he will charge us for the product.
So really something we can find in every kitchen.
Then the moisture return is measured using these special blotters, which suck up this moisture returned under pressure. And again, I put those tissue papers aside and leave what is in every kitchen may be available, which is regular paper towels.
Indeed, and here we have the third thing, which is our burette.
A burette, a beaker, the equivalent of which would be an ordinary glass. The standard glass at home is 200 or 250 milliliters, and this is more than enough for us. Moreover, this is the ideal amount to use for testing moisture return. In this case, how much of the liquid poured into the product is able to return to the body.
Well, you mean to say that these three items are enough for us to investigate what level of moisture return will be in our product?
That's exactly correct. Just these three items. In addition, I have a marker to indicate on the product where the liquid will be dispensed, because as I recall, the liquid is dispensed in one place. And of course, we need a product to test. Please help me to unfold it. In this way, now you have the back part, so let's swap so it's more visible to you. I now have the back part where the combi tape fasteners are. Here is the front, and we will look for half of the product and we will move about 2 centimeters forward. We put this product straight on the countertop. Yes, and now the marker.
The half is somewhere here.
About half.
2 centimeters.
Yes, and now in lab testing it's crucial. For us it's important to more or less find that point. We mark it for ourselves, and in this place we will dispense the liquid.
So the first important thing, we don't spill liquid all over the surface of the product.
We take the glass to measure out the right amount of liquid. It is very important to let the cold water run off a little bit, so the water will be warm.
And why is it so important to pour warm water?
That's because the urine that we excrete is at body temperature, so it's 36.6 degrees. It's appropriately warm.
So we're trying to do everything the way a natural, normal product works.
It's even better at warm temperatures. Pay attention now. You can stretch a little bit, stretch, good, and we are now pouring liquid into this one place. We dispense as it is excreted.
Yes, you can actually see that we're absorbing this liquid very nicely.
That is exactly right.
It got absorbed very quickly. Can we put these towels down right now and see how much of the liquid will come back to the surface?
We can't because of the superabsorbent itself, which are these granules. I will remind you what it looked like. It was this kind of sugar. The superabsorbent that is here in this product needs time to bind. In the first instance, the liquid is drawn through the cellulose pulp. But cellulose pulp, like a sponge, absorbs quickly and returns the liquid under pressure. Therefore, the key to the feeling of dryness is precisely this superabsorbent, which slowly, also under pressure, takes this moisture from the pulp and slowly slowly turns it into a gel.
In one, actually in several previous episodes, we talked about the distributing layer. Oh, I see you already have it prepared here.
That's right, I knew what you meant.
Yes, because I think it's really important to use the absorbent core to its full potential for comfort. I can see that here this liquid is spreading very well due to this layer.
That's right. Let me remind you that EDS is that top layer, which is just below the surface of this upper non-woven fabric, and it's on the top of it, and that makes this liquid very well distributed.
So it also gives us a kind of buffer for moisture, so that moisture doesn't return to the surface too much.
That's exactly right. Let us have a look. It has its appropriate thickness. And now, because the EDS non-woven fabric itself has its thickness, it further insulates the absorbent core from the patient's body.
So it's important that the product actually has this additional distributing layer, because it not only distributes the liquid perfectly on the absorbent core, but it also increases the feeling of dryness.
That's exactly right. Okay, some time has passed.
And how long should we wait to best check this?
Here in the film, demonstration conditions, we shorten this waiting time, so we can expect a little moisture return. At home, if you wait 5 to 10 minutes even, you should get maximum dryness with Seni products.
So we have our towels.
Okay, at this stage we take 2 towels, so we have...
Each one is folded, so we have 8 layers here.
Okay, we put these 8 layers, and now we have to load them.
And why upside down?
Good point.
After all, there's a larger area here.
Yes, there is a larger pressure surface here, whereas here, the jar that I suggest to you as such a tool that is at hand has a large depression here, so it
will not press well.
It will not press evenly across the surface. I therefore lay it upside down and leave it that way for 30 seconds or so. We can more or less wait and see how much of that moisture returns. In addition, remember that under pressure, this liquid is also better distributed to the additional surfaces of the absorbent core.
On the other hand, the pressure also simulates the normal functioning of the product. Because we change the position, we sit down. A person lies in such a product, so this pressure will actually appear all the time.
That's exactly right. For now, 30 seconds or so have passed. We can pick it up to see if any moisture has returned.
Okay, I'm very curious to see what this looks like.
We have a little return of moisture after the first dosing, and we observe this in 2 ways. Firstly, we look at what area and how big these spots are in terms of moisture return.
Here in a small area, these spots have indeed appeared.
Exactly. However, the second thing, which is very important, is whether anything at all has passed onto the next layer. And here, there is practically nothing. Here we have some spot in one place that has penetrated, but the second layer is practically dry.
So actually, very little of this moisture return has occurred to us here. Here on the second layer, practically nothing can be seen.
Yes. Here, during the tests, we wait for about 5 minutes, or we even wait for about 2 to 3 minutes only. Then in reality, the patient spends many hours in such a product. So the key is actually the feeling of dryness, not only after these 2 or 3 minutes, but after 10, 15 minutes, let alone measuring it in hours.
Okay, so let's check then how this product will behave at the second dosage.
I'd check again before the second dosing. Because we've had a bit of a chat, I'd quickly put 1 layer on and see if anything has changed after that.
Again, about 30 seconds, yes?
We can wait for a while. About 30 seconds, but for the purposes of this recording, we can safely shorten it a little. We raise it, here you go.
Well, indeed, even after such a short time, this return of moisture is already 0. In fact, there is no return at all.
It is 0. In turn, I pour in another dose of warm liquid at this time.
And again, we remember to make sure it's warm water and about 200 milliliters.
I poured 200 milliliters, and now it would probably be worth explaining to you why we pour 200 milliliters and not, for example, half a liter.
Well, because this product has a very large surface area, it has high absorbency, because it's our purple product, which represents the second level of absorbency. Why such a small amount?
This is because, by default, our bladder has a capacity of about half a liter.
So little? I thought more. I counted the number of coffees, teas, or water.
If we took our bladder out of our body and inflated it, it could actually have a maximum capacity of 3 liters. But actually, just imagine, I have this liter jar here now. I wouldn't really have anywhere to store 3-liter jars like that.
And I think we wouldn't be very comfortable.
And it would be uncomfortable. Therefore, from 400 to 700 milliliters as standard, this averages out to the value of half a liter. However, it is also very important to realize how much we excrete at any one time. Both you and I, when we feel the first urge on the bladder, it occurs when the bladder is 1/3 full of urine, and that is the signal. I need to go to the toilet. And as standard, we pour out about a glass precisely, or about 200 milliliters. That is why we are testing this product in this way, 200 milliliters. Besides, there is another very important thing. If we've poured another dose of liquid in here, there is very little waiting time. This recording lasts a few minutes. In fact, we are about to pour in another 200 milliliters, and in reality, it will not be the case that the patient has excreted 200 milliliters and the kidneys would have already produced another 200 milliliters, which he would have excreted without control. This is really extreme product testing. In reality, this time is extended. Therefore, this dryness effect that we have already obtained after the first dosage will be much better.
All right, can we check our moisture return now?
We can try. Good. For this second return of moisture, I would suggest taking 3 layers anyway. In this case, 3 towels.
This will give us 12 layers.
There you go.
I lay it out.
Put it here on the product.
I will take the jar again.
Now we look at how much of this liquid under pressure will return to the body after the second dosing. Will there be any return of moisture? I remind you that the less liquid returned to the body, the greater sense of dryness, the better the comfort effect for the patient.
And this return of moisture, or less return of moisture, it's very important for the skin of the user because the continuous contact of the skin with urine, which is irritating and can lead to skin irritation.
That's exactly right. Great. I think we can check. Raise the weight.
Attention! Let's check.
After the second dosage, completely dry.
Moisture return is completely 0.
So that you don't think that we are cheating here, actually the kilo weight may be too small, I will try to press a little bit harder. And here, under the stronger pressure of my hand, actually this slight return of moisture can happen. But overall, the feel of this product is very dry.
So you can see, even with such extreme testing of this product, the product remains virtually dry after the second dosing.
That is exactly right. And I would just conclude by saying, remember that incontinence products are indeed disposable, but this doesn't mean that they are only good for one-off incontinence. That is why we tested the products several times in order to reflect the real situation of the patient who repeatedly fails to hold urine. But the product should always give him a feeling of dryness.
We have conducted experiments for you today. We have shown you how to make such an experiment on your own in a simple way, using things you can find in your kitchen. We encourage you to test the products, check their quality, and choose those that are of the highest quality. Thank you very much.